let's now talk about the ideal week calendar. So we are trying to create an ideal balanced week. A balanced week consists of time split harmoniously, ideally, between work, i.e. deep focus, meetings, tasks, admin, all of the stuff associated with work, and life, rest, hobbies, relationships, health, personal growth, etc., etc. And your ideal week calendar is a blueprint for managing your time, which is sustainable, enjoyable, and balanced. A couple of you have already made your ideal week calendar. This is going to be a good chance to revise it. But I'm going to do a little demo that explains how to basically build an ideal week, because based on the stuff, a lot of people weren't doing that. The ideal week calendar is basically you open up a blank Google Calendar and you create a new calendar. So I'm going to create a new calendar and I'm going to call it Ali's Ideal Week V5 because I've made so many versions of this, and I'm going to hit create calendar. So now we are creating a blank Google Calendar. Great, fantastic. And now let's go back. And now this is a blank Google Calendar. I'm just going to turn it to next week. This is a calendar, right? So the idea behind an ideal week calendar is that you start off by blocking out all of the things you have to do in terms of work and personal life. So I'm going to use the example of when I was a doctor. So I would wake up and drive to work basically every single day, and I can hit edit on this and I can define repeats pretty much every weekday. Yep, save. Great. So every weekday I'm waking up and driving to work. I was on average working 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and so I would just call this work. Let's color it in red because I didn't particularly enjoy it. I mean, it was fine, but and let's put it on every weekday. Boom. I've just blocked in all of the different ways in which I was at work. I'll show you my actual ideal week calendar after this shortly. Then this would be a drive home from work. And again, that would happen every weekday pretty much. I was a doctor, as you guys may know, and so the schedule wasn't always like this, but for the most part, it was Monday to Friday, 8 till 6. Then I was like, okay, most evenings, cool. So this is the stuff I have to do. When I got into a relationship, we decided that once a week we were gonna have date night. And so date night was happening, I don't know, let's say every Thursday. Now that I'm married, we do 2 date nights every week. And so this is repeating every week on a Thursday. I would normally have had an hour of dinner and life admin and stuff. So let's put that, color it in green, give it a repeat of, I don't know, every weekday with the exception of Thursdays. And this was kind of what my ideal week calendar looked like. And I would aim to sleep at 11. So it would be sleep. And let's give this, I don't know, blue. You can always give it a nice little emoji if you want. And let's repeat this every single day. Daily. Great. So now I've basically defined what my ideal week is, right? And I've kind of blocked in firstly the things that I have to do, i.e. drive to work, drive home from work, dinner and life admin, etc., etc. I've blocked out work because broadly, when you're a doctor, work is dictated by what patients happen to be there, etc., etc. As an entrepreneur, my ideal week calendar looks a little bit different, but I will go over that in just a moment. And now the nice thing about this is you see how much time you have blocked for stuff you have to do, and you can also then start blocking in stuff that you want to do. So for example, I might decide, it's important to me to go to the gym, let's say 3 times a week, and so I might put gym over there, I might put gym over there, and I might put, I don't know, gym on a Saturday afternoon. I might decide, I really want to take art lessons, and so I put my art lessons once a week over there. I might decide, I want to have an evening where I sort of hang out with friends, or whatever the thing might be. This is the sort of thing where you can then kind of decide what does your ideal balanced week look like in terms of work stuff and personal stuff and hobbies and rest and growth and all of the things. So this was how you do this. Just make a new Google Calendar, easy enough. This is what my ideal week currently looks like. Actually, this is pretty accurate. Yeah. So basically, the goal is to wake up and do my morning routine every day at 7:30, and then go for a walk in the local park, grab a coffee, and use VoicePal. VoicePal is the AI ghostwriting app me and my team are building, where I walk around the park and talk ideas out. This is how I plan my videos. Then I have a 5-hour-long deep work block for learning and videos and stuff, basically where the goal is just to deep work. Gym and lunch 3 times a week, zone 2 cardio and lunch 3 times a week. I've now added in Muay Thai and squash lessons, but it all happens in this 2 to 4 p.m. slot. And then 4 till 7 is where I do the rest of my work. So each day I have 9 till 2, and I have 4 till 7, and then I have date night on a Wednesday, date night on a Sunday. And so this is my ideal week calendar. To me, this is an ideal week. That's it. We normally do dinner at we tried to do dinner around 7 till 8, but it often changes depending on what's happening, so I haven't blocked in dinner. But yeah, for the most part, dinner would be blocked in over there. And our goal is I think we decided the other day that every Tuesday and every Saturday night we were going to have a social dinner, because we don't have very many friends in Hong Kong yet because we haven't really been trying too hard about it. And so we're all right, cool, let's have 2 social evenings every week, because my wife and I identified that this was an area of our life where work's going fine, health is going fine, our marriage is going fine, but actually, we kind of want to hang out with more friends. So we decided Tuesday evenings and Saturday evenings were going to be a friend thing. We decided that maybe we could do a Sunday brunch as well, brunch with friends potentially, that sort of thing. But again, the idea is that by having this sort of thing and by having this sort of thing created, what you can do is that you can start to firstly define what your ideal end state looks like in terms of, based on my current context, this is what the ideal looks like. And then each week you can just see how close you are to that ideal. The goal is not to hit this ideal 100% of the time. Sometimes work goes on beyond 2 o'clock. Sometimes I'm screw it, I can't be bothered to work and I'll take the morning off as an entrepreneur or whatever. Sometimes dinner goes on for way longer than I expected it to. Sometimes I don't get to bed by 10 p.m. because I'm doing LifeOS at 10:33 on a Saturday night. Life gets in the way and stuff happens, but I find that the more I can have, let's say, 80% adherence to the ideal week calendar, that is how I get the sense of balance and rest and growth and hobbies and personal relationships, etc., etc. All of that stuff is balanced, and it's all downstream of the ideal week. Because if I want to then do something new, I look at the ideal week and I'm like, okay, where is it going to fit? I want to take art lessons, maybe, but I'm like, do I really want to? Do I want to give up an evening for art lessons? Maybe. Is it that important to me? I want to also do guitar and piano lessons, but it's like, where is it going to fit? What needs to give? And the nice thing that I like about this sort of setup is that it really limits you to the 168 hours that exist in the week, minus 56 for sleeping, so there's only really like 112 or something like that. It just really shows you where are you spending your 112 hours each week, and where would you like to be spending your 112 hours each week. So that is the point of the ideal week exercise. We're going to do a little 5-minute thing now where you can create your own ideal week calendar. This exercise is basically similar to the ideal Tuesday, except you're doing it for the whole week, just to create the first draft of your ideal week calendar. And please go on Google Calendar or whatever other calendar app of choice, create a new calendar. You can do it on Google Calendar. You can hit this plus button and you can hit create new calendar. That's what that does. And then you can draft out your ideal week. You also don't have to do it within a calendar app. You can just write it out like on a piece of paper. If you're going with a piece of paper, you can create a table in a Word document if you really want to. Basically, the idea is that we're mapping out what would our ideal balanced week look like. So let's do that as a little 5 minutes. Okay, cool. So I was also just editing my own ideal week calendar while we were there. I will show you in case it's really interesting. I've added in social dinner block on a Monday, a Friday, and a Sunday morning. Oh, sorry, Monday, Saturday, and Sunday morning, which is what Izzy and I decided like a couple of days ago. And I actually have decided to do a sort of run plus jacuzzi plus a sauna every morning as like a thing, which I haven't got around to fully editing across the thing. So yeah, basically I keep my ideal week updated every few months, in particular when new life things change. About once a quarter when I set my quarterly quests, that is usually a good time to look at the ideal week and be like, okay, is this ideal week still up to date? And a lot of the ideal week stuff I find, especially now that I'm an entrepreneur and I have way more control over my time, it's just like running experiments. Like I've done the experiment of what if I just film videos once a week? Or what if I film every day? Or what if I wake up earlier and go for a run first thing in the morning? Okay, what if I go gym first thing in the morning? What if I go gym in the afternoon? And over time, I found that you just end up with some sort of routine that just works for you. And a lot of you have had this experience, I know, from like just experimenting with your own life to be like, are you a morning person? Are you an exercise in the evening or in the morning or in the afternoon person? And you just run these mini experiments in life. I think the ideal week is a really good way of just sort of pictorially representing what does your ideal balanced week look like, because we're not just about trying to do more stuff, we're not just about trying to do more work, we're about trying to do it in a way that feels balanced and sustainable and stuff, and the ideal week is one very nice way of doing that. A couple of common mistakes that people do with the ideal week is firstly is overscheduling. It is very useful to have buffer time built in. It's very useful to not plan absolutely every second, because then you can just get a lot of calendar fatigue. The other thing is that should you say yes to things that clash with your ideal week? I like the philosophy of it's either a hell yes or it's a no. If someone is inviting me for dinner and it's not a hell yes, and I'm like, I should probably say no to that. But if it is a hell yes, or if like a friend is in town and I need to, I don't know, forget about going to the gym that day so I can hang out with a friend or whatever. I'd be like, you know what, it's a hell yes, and I'll break my ideal routine for the sake of this thing, which is a hell yes. So again, the point of this is not to chain you with a schedule that you can't get out of. The whole point is to be like, you know what, this is the ideal that I'm striving for 80% of the time on most days. And if it needs to change because I need to be flexible, then that's totally okay. It is useful to account for the time it takes to switch between tasks. Like I find that if I have a gym session and then I schedule a Zoom call straight after, there's always like a 10-minute buffer of sort of coming from the gym back home, having a bit of a shower, like changing my t-shirt if it's super sweaty or whatever, going to the toilet. And that's like a 10-15 minute buffer that I need to account for in my ideal week. I tend not to account for it, but it always ends up sort of biting me in the ass when like the team is waiting for 15 minutes because I'm just like trying to run from the gym back home to be able to get on the Zoom call, whatever. And another thing that I find that I've heard over the years from people doing this exercise is that there is this frustration because things don't go to plan. And that's like totally okay. Like the point is not for your life to go to plan. The point is to have a plan, because then you can like, it's like that thing of like, no battle ever went according to plan, but no battle was ever won without one. Or that phrase of everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Sometimes life just punches you in the face. Sometimes life just happens. That's not to say you should never have a plan, because planning is still useful, even if you end up not following the plan, because setting the plan is a kind of intention setting thing. It lets you know what your values are. It lets you know what you care about. It lets you know like, okay, this is what my balanced week would look like if life didn't get in the way all the time. Cool. So it's not about the perfect week. It's about creating a balanced week that provides clarity and structure while allowing you to prioritize what matters most. Again, not about doing everything, not about having a perfect week. It's just about prioritizing what matters most. So the homework challenge in terms of action for the week is to create and share your ideal week calendar. Create your ideal week calendar in your preferred calendar application. It could be Google Calendar, it could be Apple Calendar, it could be a blank page, it could be pen and paper, whatever you like. And we would love it if you could take a screenshot or a photo and share it on Circle with any reflections about the exercise and how you feel about your structured weekly plan. So that is homework piece number 1 for this final week of the course.